What's up guys, SuperSaf here, and I know guys, a little bit late, but out of my control, nothing I could do. Anyway, we have the brand new iPhone 13 in the house. In this video, we're just going to be looking at the pros because you guys don't seem to be as interested in the 13 and the 13 mini. So if you are, let me know in the comments below and we'll cover those in a separate video. So the 13 Pro and the 13 Pro Max. Let's go ahead and get these unboxed. I'll give you my first impressions and we'll see what they have to offer. This video is sponsored by NordVPN. Use the link in the description for a special offer. So looking at the boxes initially, we've got slimmer boxes like we had last year, but slightly different because this time we have the picture of the back of the iPhones rather than the front. There we go. Something I made earlier. We have the iPhone 12 Pro here. You can see that we had the front of the display here in the picture. We now have the back. And you can also see that we've got the brand new Sierra blue color. I just went with the Sierra blue for both of them. Maybe I should have got one in a different color. But anyway, you may also notice that we don't have any plastic wrapping around the boxes this time. And that's because Apple is trying to reduce its carbon footprint. So yeah, thumbs up for that. The unboxing experience is identical with both devices as well as the iPhone 13 Pros. You do get some paperwork, a SIM card tool, and a white Apple sticker. Now, this is the same white Apple sticker regardless of which color iPhone you go for. And then there's a USB Type-C to Lightning cable. Now, if you don't already know, like last year, we do not get a power brick included out of the box. And here we are guys, the brand new iPhone 13 Pros in this new Sierra blue color, which really does look nice. You can also get them in the graphite gold as well as a silver, but I'd say this is the most popular and the one that stands out most too. Now, the overall design of the Pros is pretty similar to what we had last year. So we've got the flat edges and then we've got the stainless steel frame. The stainless steel frame does look great for the first few seconds when you get it out the box, but then it does attract fingerprints very quickly. Now I know this is more durable, but I do prefer the look of the aluminium frame that we have on the 13 and the 13 mini. But then we've got a frosted glass back, and this has a really nice matte finish. I do like this. And the camera modules also look quite similar to what we had last year. However, these are slightly larger. So quickly bringing in the iPhone 12 Pro Max here for a side-by-side comparison, you'll see that the height and the width is actually pretty much exactly the same, but the camera module is slightly larger here on the 13 Pro Max. And the 13 Pro and the Pro Max are also slightly thicker compared to the previous generation. Now, this will mean that if you've got some cases from the 12 Pro or the 12 Pro Max, they're not going to fit the new 13 Pros. The 13 Pros are also slightly heavier compared to last year. Now, this is because they have slightly larger batteries, but this does make the 13 Pro Max quite a heavy device, around 238 grams. And because of the flat edges, it's not the most comfortable device to use. So just do keep that in mind. I would definitely try this out in hand if you're coming from a smaller iPhone. Now we still have the same IP68 water and dust resistant rating, which is great. 30 minutes up to 6 meters, which is much higher than many other smartphones out there. But the biggest improvements are here on the front. Now, although we still have the same ceramic shield, which is super tough, Apple don't even call it glass, we still have relatively the same size bezels, but we have a reduced size notch, so it's around 20% smaller compared to last year. And although both of these are OLED displays, which means that colors are really vibrant and things really do pop, the iPhone 13 Pros are now around 25% brighter compared to the iPhone 12 Pros. But most importantly, these are now Pro Motion displays, which support up to a 120 Hz refresh rate. I'm so glad this is here. Now what that means is when you're scrolling through your feeds, when you're gaming, things are just going to be that much more responsive because the screen's going to be refreshing up to 120 times a second compared to around 60 times a second what we had on the iPhone 12 Pros. These displays also have an adaptive refresh rate, meaning they can go all the way down to 10 Hz, which is going to save battery life. So for example, if you've got something static here, it doesn't really need to be refreshing 120 times a second. So it's going to go all the way down to just 10 times a second. Now I know some of the Android fans are going to be going crazy in the comments saying that we've had this for a couple of years, but nevertheless, it's nice to have this here. And adaptive refresh rates have really become a thing over the past year, I would say. So it's kind of expected to have this at this point on the Pro models of the iPhones. Now, one thing I would have liked to have seen on the new iPhones is an always-on display. If you're somebody who hasn't really used an always-on display, you might not really appreciate it. But for somebody like me who has, an always-on display is really useful. You can just see the time and notifications at a glance without having to pick up your smartphone. This is something that's technically possible because we have OLED displays with LTPO technology. So it's a software thing. I hope Apple will introduce it at some point. Maybe they're going to wait for the iPhone 14. Now, before we move on to the performance and the cameras, a quick thanks to our sponsor for this video, NordVPN. Are you tired of internet service providers and other third parties tracking your every move on the internet? Well, with NordVPN, you can easily hide all of your online data. With the tap of a button, you can connect to the internet via a remote private server on pretty much any of your devices. And this also means you can get access to apps and content which may not be available in your country. Personally speaking, being here in the UK, there's lots of movies that initially stream in the US first, which is super annoying. But with NordVPN, I can actually see all of these movies. And a lot of the times, the subscription is also cheaper. Go to nordvpn.com/SuperSaf to get 73% off a 2-year plan with 4 additional months for free. That works out to pretty much less than a cup of coffee each month. And with NordVPN's risk-free 30-day money-back guarantee, you really have nothing to lose. Right, performance. So the new iPhone 13 Pros are powered by the brand new A15 Bionic chip. Now on the iPhone 13 Pros, this actually has a 5-core GPU compared to the 4-core GPU that you have on the iPhone 13s. And that's going to mean improved performance, including the ProMotion display. I mean, if you're playing games that can support that display, you are going to be needing that extra performance. In terms of exactly how much better this is compared to the A14, this is something that Apple didn't really talk about in the keynote. They said it's certain percentages better than the leading competition. Now, which leading competition they were specifically referring to, they didn't say, so we don't know. But nevertheless, I'm very confident that the A15, like the A14, is going to be very, very fast and smooth. And also with the new ISP image signal processor that comes with the A15, we're going to get improved images and video. So let's talk about the cameras. The front-facing camera hasn't really changed. From the hardware side of things, we do have that new image signal processor. However, the rear-facing cameras have been completely changed. So we have a brand new ultra-wide primary and telephoto camera. And this year, they are exactly the same between the Pro and the Pro Max. You may know that last year, the 12 Pro Max did have some additional features compared to the 12 Pro. This is not the case this year. Let's talk about the cameras. So we do have 12 megapixels across the board. Apple does like to keep things consistent. The primary camera has sensor shift optical image stabilization. This is something that we saw introduced on the iPhone 12 Pro Max. It's something that I absolutely love. Now it's on all of the new iPhones, which is great. The primary camera also has a larger sensor size, so it's got around a 2.2 times improvement in low light. That's not just going to mean brighter images in low light, but it's also going to mean that you're not going to have to wait as long. It's going to have a quicker shutter because it's going to be able to capture more light. Absolutely awesome. We then have a telephoto camera, and this time we've got 3 times optical zoom, the most we've ever had on an iPhone. And this will give you the equivalent of around 77 millimeters, which will be really interesting to see for portrait shots. And finally, we have a completely new ultra wide camera. This will give around 92% improvement in low light, according to the keynote. But it also has the ability to refocus, which will allow it to be used as a macro camera as well. Now, I know macro cameras do get some bad reputation because of the 2 megapixel macro cameras we see on many other smartphones. However, there are lots of other smartphones out there like the S21 Ultra, some of the OnePlus devices, which actually do use the ultra wide camera for macro shots, and they do a great job. And I'm so glad that we now have macro photography on the new iPhones. Of course, we'll be comparing them to the competition, SuperSaf style. Definitely let me know which smartphone you'd like me to compare the iPhone 12 Pro and the Pro Max to first, and I'll get working on that as soon as possible. Also, don't forget to subscribe because you're going to want to see it as soon as it's dropped. Now, the camera interface has also been updated. We have now photographic styles. So the way this really works is it allows you to pick a particular style that you like, and then your images will look like that. We've seen many times when we compare iPhone images to, say, Samsung images tend to be a little bit more vibrant, a little bit more contrasty. So if that is a look that you like, you can tone that in, and then whenever you take an image, it's already going to use that with the computational photography, and it's going to give you the result that you like. Personally speaking, I think I'm going to just leave this to normal because I actually quite like the images that come out from iPhones. I would say that they're quite natural. But again, I will be testing this out. We still have the LiDAR scanner on the Pro models, which is going to be useful for depth information, for focus, as well as lots of AI features. We also have some solid improvements for the video. So the new iPhone 12 Pros do support 4K 60 frames a second with Dolby Vision HDR. Now, you guys may have heard me say this before, and some of you are going to say that I'm biased, but in my opinion, iPhones still take the best video on any smartphone out there. Very consistent and very, very good quality. And this year, Apple has tried to take that even further with some new features, one of which is cinematic mode. Cinematic mode, think of it as portrait mode, but for video. We've seen certain implementations of this on other smartphones, but honestly speaking, they haven't been too good. So I'm excited to see what Apple has to offer. In my first impressions, it does look pretty promising. And what's unique about the iPhone 13s is that when using cinematic mode, you can actually change focus after the fact in video. This is something that you can't do on any other smartphone right now. Of course, this is something that I'm going to be testing out lots more. I'll post some updates on my social media, so make sure you are following me. And we are supposed to be getting ProRes video support soon. ProRes video is mainly for professionals who want to really edit their video after the fact. But I really can't imagine how big the files are going to be. Batteries and charging. So as mentioned earlier on, we do have slightly larger batteries on both of these devices. And with all of the optimizations of the adaptive refresh rate as well as the A15 Bionic, we should be getting around 1.5 hours more on the 13 Pro and around 2.5 hours more on the 13 Pro Max. This is something that I'm of course going to be testing for my full review, but the 12 Pro Max already gave me excellent battery life, so I am very hopeful that these will be great too. For charging, these do support up to 20-watt wired charging. However, that charger is sold separately, as you guys already know. We've got Qi wireless charging support up to 7.5 watts, and of course, MagSafe. MagSafe will give you up to 15 watts. So there's not really any change in terms of charging here on the 13 Pros. Finally, storage and pricing. So the storage models, we still have 128, 256, and 512 gigabytes. However, there is now a 1 terabyte option. I'm not sure who's gonna get that. Maybe I need to, because so far I've taken up around 400 gigs on my iPhone. But anyway, and for the price, in the US, the price is roughly about the same as what the iPhone 12 Pro and the 12 Pro Max came in at. However, surprisingly, here in the UK, the iPhone 13s are coming in priced lower compared to the iPhone 12s. So we're looking at around £50 less for each storage version, which I'm not gonna lie, I was very surprised about, but pleasantly surprised, of course. So that is the iPhone 13 Pro and the 13 Pro Max. Overall, these do look very, very promising. Yes, you could argue that the 13 and the 13 mini are more of like 12Ss, but I think the 13 Pros do bring lots of improvements, such as the brand new cameras, the ProMotion display, the A15 with a 5-core GPU. There's lots to be excited about and to test out. What do you guys think of the 13 Pros? Definitely let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know if you want me to do some separate coverage of the 13 and the 13 mini. There is going to be lots more coverage with both of these coming up. So be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon if you haven't already. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, then do smash that like button for me. And don't forget to check out the description for the offer from NordVPN. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on SuperSaf TV, and I'll see you next time.